Ashish, hi, morning. What are your wealth creation ideas?
Well, I have two wealth creation ideas. I think the time is very important to focus on quality and look at stocks where the growth is visible, because clearly markets, while showing a lot of euphoria, and while I buy the argument of a look through year, I think even then I think the markets are now clearly racing ahead very fast, and so therefore time to be very careful. So I have two frontline stocks, and both of them have very visible, strong earnings growth. One of them is Bharti Airtel, common with Kunal Bothra. Now, Bharti Airtel, not a longer term view, you could buy with a target of 750. Now, 750 is the sum of parts valuation which we arrive at. But positive thing about Bharti is that results have been very good, better than expected, growth on all fronts, revenue as well as EBITDA, and ARPUs have also shown a very significant improvement. Now, Bharti Airtel, what is very good is that telecom is one of the very few sectors which are actually gaining in this lockdown period. And going forward, the digitalization momentum is likely to pick up more pace, and Bharti Airtel seems well capitalized to, seems well positioned to capitalize on this transformation. Also, their growth is across this thing, their telecom services as well as home services, digital services. So a very I think one of the very safe and good stocks to buy, and the target is 750, which represents about a 30% upside with a 1 year's time frame. The other stock idea is HDFC. And HDFC Limited, again, the visibility in earnings growth is very much prevalent, because home finance is one of the few sectors which are still showing a robust growth. And what has happened over the years is the consolidation has happened in this space. And with HDFC being a very clear established leader, the company also has the advantage of very low cost of funds, a very well managed ALM position, and a very good distribution network across the country. Company's valuation also derives from the various subsidiaries, and if you total that up, then the sum of parts valuation comes to 2500, which again represents a fairly good about 30-35% upside from the current price. And the subsidiaries, all of them are doing well: HDFC Bank, HDFC AMC, HDFC Life, HDFC Ergo, and the stake in Bandhan Bank, as well as the HDB Financial Services, an unlisted consumer finance company. So altogether, HDFC, I think, represents a very good, easy stock to understand, and when very fundamentally very strong. So that will be the other idea. And yes, the market momentum is strong. So in all probabilities, the market will go higher. But I think going forward, the market will get polarized in favor of high quality names. So very important to go with only the stocks where the earnings visibility is there, and the balance sheet position and the strength of the business is very well established. So with that in mind, I think both Bharti and HDFC are both very good ideas which investors can buy even at the current rates.
Okay, thanks, Ashish, for that. Let's start off with some of our viewer emails and Twitter queries. First up, we have a Twitter follower who says he would want a view on Bajaj Finserv from the current juncture, should he perhaps look to dip into it. Kunal, the stock has seen a fantastic uptick in the last 3-4 weeks, almost 30% gains coming in there. Is this a good idea to sort of enter into it right now at 6,500 levels?
Well, I will say wait for certain bit of time. I think Bajaj Finserv, Bajaj Finance, they have shown signs of promise. They've shown signs of very strong price recovery. I think if I'm not wrong, both of these stocks have almost doubled, from their March lows. So I think in that regard, it's been a very strong recovery. But then on the other end, when you look at it from the, for example, for Bajaj Finance, from those 10,000 levels approximately, the stock is still at 6,500. So it's still at a 30-35% discount, or a downside from its 2020 or all-time highs in that regard. So not everything has turned out positive for the stock price. Provided if you're and assuming if you're a long-term investor, then I think you need to buy the stock, especially when it goes through one more round of very strong kind of correction. what's actually panning out in the markets as well is a bit of dichotomy where Nifty on one hand is going up, but the Bank Nifty is struggling. So whenever this kind of a dichotomy settles down, you generally see one or the other index or both of the indices moving in the same direction. So assuming if the Bank Nifty heads downwards further, and if you see pressure in the private sector banks, it's bound to be that the Nifty 50 as well and many of these other large cap names, the ones which are late movers, they would also try and correct. So I think in that regards, you should wait for a certain bit of time to before you enter Bajaj Finserv. In terms of levels, I believe the sub 6,000 level, I think 5,800 or 5,900 level is a good starting point where you can look to start chipping into Bajaj Finserv, provided you have a longer term view on the stock.
Okay, thanks for that, Kunal. Ashish, what's your take on Bajaj Finserv?
Because of two reasons. One, of course, is that it's very well established and the clear leader in its category. And the other thing is that one of the segments which is going to continue doing well would be the insurance going forward. So the sector-wise also we are positive, and I think the stock is clearly one of the best managed in the industry, both insurance as well as consumer finance. So I think though valuation-wise one can argue that it would have become expensive after the recent run-up. But I think from the point of view of investor buying, is still one of the safer stocks and also where growth visibility is there. So I think not only can the investor hold on, can also buy more at the current price. And I think over the years, I mean, it's difficult to duplicate what it has done over the last 7, 8, 10 years. But clearly, growth visibility is there, and a very comfortable and a good quality stock to have in your portfolio.
Okay, great. Let's move on then. The next query is for Biocon, and they need a short-term view on Biocon, and this is Arco Fernandez from Kochi. So Kunal, coming back to you, how's the chart looking?
Well, again, short-term charts for Biocon, they look attractive, but it's a bit stretched up. I think today also the stock opened with a decent kind of a gap up. I think it was at 444, 445, if I'm not wrong, at the opening tick, and it's now gone down or come back to a flattish kind of a territory. So such kind of a move where the stock opens 7-8% higher, 9-8% higher, and then ends up or settles down into a flattish kind of range. Then the candlestick patterns which get formed on the medium-term charts, they are not very attractive, and it doesn't leave too much room for short-term traders or investors to try and make decent money or decent gains out of such kind of stock. So it's a good stock from a long-term view. The chart patterns are very strong on long-term basis, but then if you are a very short-term investor, I for one believe that maybe this is not the right time where you should be looking at Biocon as a good entry point. I think if the stock comes back to a 400 level or maybe a 385 kind of a level, then it probably attracts or warrants a good risk reward buy. I think at these levels of 420, the risk reward is almost 1:1 or maybe less than 1:1 in favor of long. So I think in that regards, I will suggest wait for maybe a 385 kind of levels where you can probably try and look to start trading Biocon on the long side.
All right. Okay, then let's start off with the next viewer query. It's an email. Arco Fernandez from Kochi has written to us. He wants a short-term view on Biocon. Ashish, would you like to step in for Biocon first? How are the fundamentals looking like? It's a very niche player within the pharma and life sciences space. How do you sort of go about investing in this one over the short term? Good idea right now?
No, I don't think so. I think Biocon, apart from the fact that it is in a sector which is currently the focus, that is pharma. But apart from that, I think I would agree with Kunal that I think the stock hasn't really delivered well, not only in the short run, even in the long run. It is one of the laggards in the whole pharma and life sciences space if you look at it. Over the years, it has never really delivered. It's always looked potentially very good, but never really delivered. And so I think within the pharma space, I would prefer a Cipla followed by a Lupin or a Sun Pharma. Clearly, I think that these stocks have given investor returns and are favorites with the quality investors. So I think for whatever it may be, I think Biocon has always sort of never been able to live up to its potential. So from my point of view, it is a clear avoid.